Hey guys, I've been wanting to make a video about this for a while. Back in 2016, I wrote an ebook on this. So the information I'm going to give is probably outdated, but this is mainly targeting the people that are just now thinking about possibly getting into car auctions and what to look out for. A lot of this is going to be very basic. It's probably going to be pre-basic information, but I figured let me just put it out there now. Better late than never. So if let's just say you're in an apartment, you barely have any money, but you're thinking about getting into car flipping and going to auctions. The first thing you want to actually pay attention to is where to store your vehicle. You know, if you have assigned parking spaces, it's one thing. But even then, sometimes somebody else will park in your spot. But you want to be able to park it somewhere to where, you're not going to get it towed. And, if you live in a house and your neighborhood has a big HOA thing, and let's just say, you keep it out in the driveway, just make sure it's in presentable condition because you might get written up by the HOA, Preferably if you had like a, place in your garage. I mean, that would be ideal. Just park it there. But so that's one of the very first things to think about. For me, when I went to actually every auction, you run into the possibility of these cars just not starting. So it's been sitting for a while, and even if they started up, or more likely jump started up, or drive it through the car auction, a lot of times the battery's just pretty much weak. So if you had a spare $50 or whatever, I would either invest in a cheap battery from Walmart. I mean, if you have one of those battery startup kits, just make sure it has enough power, because the cheap ones a lot of times won't start up cars that have been sitting a while and stuff, so you don't want to get caught up with that. But so if you're going out there, if you had a spare one, just change it out. That way you're able to make it out of there. I also put down that, of course, either, you Uber out there, or you get somebody to drop you off, or even bring a friend with you. Sometimes just having that extra person there to get feedback from is always a good thing. So the cars that you want to avoid, of course, common sense, I guess. Any cars that have their check engine light on. So the check engine light is on already, or doesn't go away when the car is started, just avoid it. If you see exhaust coming out of the pipe, you're going to have fuel injection and all kinds of other expenses that might be a little bit too costly. So you might want to avoid those as well. Although a lot of this information was, years ago and everything, there are code readers now that, you can hook up and see what is actually wrong with the vehicle and everything like that. You don't necessarily need it. I mean, it's a good thing to have, but if you're just looking to get off your couch and everything, and you got about $800, $900, and you want to try it out, there's nothing stopping you. More likely, I mean, you can find a really, really cheap car, but the good and bad is it's cheap. So the good part is cheap. You can get it for $600. The bad part is cheap. You can't really flip it for a lot more. And the cheapness and everything, it's you get it for $600, and if your registration's about $180, $200 and everything, that's bringing you close to about $700. And your extra battery, I did the math wrong, 680, 780. Yeah, about 800. And then your battery for about $50, about $850. Looks like you're in this rough estimate about what you'd walk away spending. But I think if anything, it's always an experience. You just go check it out and get a good feel for it. And there's a lot of times you can pre-plan too much and pre-plan your way by not doing anything, and it's better to just do something than nothing. I was always one to do a little research before you just go. Yeah, there. Some car auctions, like for me, the machinery auction that I've gone to several times was always the worst ones. Those are the ones that have head gasket issues because they're not driving the cars out in front of you. They're just starting it up and everything. So I was told that sometimes they put olive oil in the engine to make it run smoother. So there's little tricks that they use at the auction house and everything. I'm not saying all of them do that, and I don't know if they're still doing that, if they're getting regulated, but there's always something behind things. It's not just straightforward as you would think. I think your limit, if you don't have a dealer's license, is selling like 2 cars a year. So if you're going to be selling more than 2 cars a year, then more likely you're going to need a dealer's license. And so for me, the more ideal auctions were the Salvation Army auction. Those are donated cars for families in need. Kind of sucks though, but if you're looking to get something and everything and trying to flip that, I remember I got a Volvo out there. It was like 1990 something or whatever. It lasted for about a year and a half for $850. I mean, that's not a bad deal. It was pretty old and everything, but it still was a safe vehicle and stuff. So the positives, it's something to just try it out and see. There's a whole world. When you go into anything, there's always a whole world of stuff that you probably didn't know, and some things may be common sense, some things not, but you never know until you try. Like, I've always considered myself a pretty bright guy, but when I get into new things, I don't really know what I'm getting into. So it's one of the things that, you just learn by experience and everything. Would I do it later in the future? Possibly. I think then I wouldn't go for the cheapest cars because that's always the ones with the most problems. I would avoid machinery auctions. I may decide to go back to a Salvation Army auction. But it's all up in the air. But not to discourage anybody from doing it, but those are just some of the things that I figured I'd throw out there. Probably thought about all of this stuff anyways, but all right, stay tuned for more.